one of the things, as we've had these talks and these conversations about family life, that we keep coming back to is that of communication. And when I think of God's love and the love of God, God loved us so much that he didn't just say, hey, I love you, but he demonstrated that love by Jesus coming to the earth and showing us. He communicated that love through the demonstration of Christ's life. And so communication is so important to a relationship, to our relationship with God, to our relationship with one another. And so I want us to begin to explore communication. Now, we're going to start off in this discussion. It'll go for a while here, but on several sessions. But I know that you guys, Dave and Kelly, have took a trip around the world, and it must have had incredible challenges for communication, from making a decision to go to once you're over there and in situations that are difficult and all. And so first of all, just tell us what you did and why you did it.
Yeah, well, we took everything just happened to align right perfectly, and God opened up the doors for us to do this. But we took a 9-month trip to 22 different countries and traveled as a family. Took a year off, rented out our house, pulled our kids out of school, had them homeschooled, and for that year we went around doing a combination of ministry and then some adventure of seeing just this beautiful world that God's created. And it was that, there was a lot of reasons why we went and why we decided to go on this trip. One of the things is, I think anything from your own childhood that you really value and treasure, it's just natural as a parent, you want to pass that along to your children. And part of my childhood, as y'all know, I was traveling most summers in international countries, and God shaped the lens that I see life through with a global lens, and helping to see the panorama of his glory displayed throughout the various cultures of the world. And so that was a deep desire I had for my own kids. I felt like this trip, there was a lot of ancillary things and effects that happened in their lives. Too much has been given, much is required. Not having a mentality of just that I expect something, that I have to have something. And going in these other cultures helps to broaden the kids' horizon, that they have been given a lot. And so there is a lot that's required of them. But the bottom line was, from my perspective, I wanted my kids to be able to see through this global lens, to see all these different cultures, to understand that the greatest education you can receive in life is, from my perspective, is to travel, meet new people, be in different places, take you out of your comfort zone, learn new things. There's real quick, there's the ancient rabbis within the Jewish Torah, they used to have the saying that there's 70 different angles of understanding one passage of Scripture. And that's why you have the Talmud and all these historical documents through Judaism to this day, is because there's so many different interpretations of what the Scriptures mean, and because it's so rich, it's so full. None of us will have the full understanding of who God is, even through His Word. And I just feel like that's a good way to see life too. There's so many different angles to life. There's so many different perspectives, and God can broaden our worlds rather than their world shrinking and thinking, oh, I live here in the United States, here in Texas and Bernie in the little town, this is the way it's supposed to be done. They see it done in all different ways, and God, I think, will have planted seeds within them to change as a result.
So I'm sure, Kelly, that whenever Dave shared that with you, you said, all right, let's go.
Good idea, let's go. Yes, I thought it was the craziest thing I ever heard of. And just saying it sounds like, oh, cool, let's go travel the world. But I'm so practical, I immediately start thinking, we have to feed these kids 3 times a day. Where are we going to stay? How are we going to homeschool them? We'll be together 24/7. Does that sound fun? And just all these things started coming in my mind, and I just thought, wow, I don't know that we could actually do this. But the more I prayed about it, and the more I just kind of thought through it, I kept feeling like this was a gift of time that God was giving to us. We were just kind of out of whack with our life. Kids were at the age where they're all going different directions, and our evenings were crazy. And I feel like this was a time where we really could just have time to experience things together and just enjoy life at a slower pace. And so because of that, and because I realized, man, when we get back from this trip, Taylor will be in 9th grade, have 4 more years with her. when they were little, I felt like, they'd be little forever. But once they hit school, it just kind of flew by, and it's still just flying by. And so I thought this could be one year where we could really just slow down and enjoy one another. And I'm glad we did it. There was lots of ups and downs, and it was crazy at times. But overall, we look back and we're thankful that
So
we did it.
I'm sure y'all had a lot of long talks about this, and you prayed separately and or together and all about this, try to find out, to make sure that this was what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did this. You decided to do this, and one of the first stops you had was Liberia.
Yeah.
And tell us what happened in Liberia when you got there.
Well, we got there, and it was we were there for 2 weeks. And the first week we were there had been this Ebola outbreak, but it hadn't really spread at the rate that it ended up spreading. And so we had another team that met us from America who came in, and when they arrived, the Ebola outbreak was starting to make international news. Several Westerners had passed away as a result during that next week. Airline flights were canceled. Government was trying to put in all these precautions to keep people from getting the Ebola. And it was really the beginning of the spread of the Ebola virus within that country in Liberia. And so that first week, that's the first week we didn't have TV or anything. We were living with Liberians and having a good time and just doing our ministry thing. And then that next week, it totally changed. They shut down public meetings. The day before they did that, I remember we had these kids camps, kind of like a vacation Bible school thing that we were doing with scholarship kids, and they shut it down. Or they hadn't shut it down, but they asked us is it safe to bring the kids? And we had to bring our own kids in, and they had to pray and decide if they wanted to go to the camp. And it was just a real good test of faith, of reality, a reality check for our own kids, to not just see something on TV, but to experience and be put in someone else's shoes, what these African kids experience every day, and then also to have to trust God in the middle of it. So it started off real tumultuous, but even in the middle of that, there was just a peace with everyone that was there and involved, and even our Liberian friends, and you could just tell God's presence was with us and during that time.
I can tell you it was a test for the kids' grandparents too.
Not the kids, just the grandchildren.
Yeah,
But
we got a few emails.
we were praying for you guys.
We were for it.
So tell me
Knowing the
what
Lord
this
has to
whole trip, what if you could just sum it up of what you learned about communicating with each other on the trip. What would you say?
I think, like Kelly said, we were 24/7 together. We were in tight spaces. One thing, and I realize that we're Americans, so we have the luxury of having other spaces that we can go to. But I think no matter what culture you come from, it's important to have that individual space and that individual time. In order for good communication to happen when you're together, you've got to be filled up with your relationship with God, with having quiet and peace, and we found that was essential. So we had to create those spaces, even though we didn't have them staying in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment or whatever. We didn't have those at times. And the other thing I would just say is when we went to Israel, that really made an impact on us, how the whole culture practiced the Sabbath. And having rhythms of life is very important. It's very important to the Jewish people. They always say, everyone would say, in order to do, we have to first become. And the Sabbath is becoming, and the rest of the week is doing. And you need that rhythm of life where you have just time away and to appreciate who God is and to appreciate who your spouse is, and then come back together. And in those times, your communication will be that much richer.
Well, I can imagine that traveling, because we travel, that is a real challenge to be able to find a place and a time when you're just surrounded by everybody else and finding that place and time to do that. And that's really critical, and it's a part of what I really believe being a follower of Christ is all about, is being filled up so that you can give out. So I want to encourage you to develop your communication by developing your time alone with God, your time with Him, so that you can communicate adequately and lovingly with those that are the closest to you and mean so much to you.